Okay.
Where's Ricochet going?
Ooh, that's a good question. So Ricochet.
Ricochet.
Yeah. Did you see that segment on Raw this past Monday, Greg?
Is that the one where he got racked up real bad?
Exactly. Yeah. We're
thrown through the windshield of a car.
Yep.
And taken off in the ambulance.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
And he'd been all over social media telling everybody that he'd given his notice.
Yep.
And his fiance is probably arguably one of the best announcers in the history of wrestling, working for them. So if that dynamic isn't got everybody sitting on the edge of their seats to watch, that's more interesting than anything they had him involved in while he was there.
100%. That's
great. To be fair, I know hands down, Tony Khan, Will Ospreay, they have this dream of having a Will Ospreay, Ricochet 2, blah, 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 blah. But man, I just hate it because there was so much meat left on that bone and what could be done. And, it's like if they hadn't, they pushed Roman Reigns for what seemed like years when they couldn't move the needle a centimeter and make people care about it. And Ricochet's not 6'5" and 300 pounds, but I have never seen someone work in person that the very first time I saw them, I saw something that I'd never seen anybody do before. And it's not just his ability to high fly. He is a walking, talking, living, breathing superhero for real.
Right.
And can work the style Greg and I work, can work any style imaginable. He just chooses to do what he does because he can. And they couldn't, with everything else going on there. And I mean, I know Sean had to have liked him and as well as Hunter. Somehow that thing just was a missed opportunity because his mic and persona and getting the people invested in him as a character is the same thing that Roman Reigns couldn't do.
Yeah.
And it doesn't just happen overnight. You've got to give them opportunities, sprinkle them in different things and do that. But you can't steal the hope of a young lion and make him not feel like he's got a path in your organization. So I'm watching that closely just to see where all that unfolds because, it's not to say that he couldn't go somewhere and come full circle and come back like Cody did.
Right.
And come back. But there is no other, there's everybody else. There's a WWE and then there's everybody else, trying to play catch up in some way, shape, or form. And unless you can, main event WrestleMania, I mean, that's the Super Bowl of our business today.
Yeah.
And if that's not your goal to do that, then you really shouldn't be lacing up your boots.
I completely agree. 100%.
So anyway, I had to throw that out there because I knew we
was,
didn't have a lot of time, but that's a big deal.
It really was. It was good. And his fiance there, her getting in that ambulance. I mean, that was emotion.
Yeah.
That was
old school emotion right there. Is he staying with the WWE, TA, or is he?
From how it sounds, reports sound that he's probably leaving.
Really?
Yes. And I think it's a big aspect of it. It's probably money, as usual. But I think, too, it's like, what Magnum, you were kind of referring to it. I think he started off in there. He felt like such a big deal being signed by WWE initially. I remember him going there, and I was like, oh, they're going to make something out of him. But whatever it was, which I'm probably thinking Vince McMahon was just like, yeah, he's not my type of guy. Not big enough. Not maybe on the mic he had questions or something. But here, and like Roman Reigns was the be all end all here. And so I think he was extremely limited and kind of almost snake bitten after that fact, where like he was lost in the shuffle. And a lot of the athletes that came in later on was more reflective, maybe Ricochet's style and stuff like that. And so here he got lost in the mix. And like they had moments here, like especially on the back end of this stuff, like with the Speed Championship, and then He had some good storylines where he was winning a lot of matches and being in contention for stuff. But I really think his initial jump into WWE, especially on the main roster, was inhibited by Vince McMahon's decision making at the time. I think
Well, with all the finesse, is you got to be able to change gears. There's got to be a rawness, almost a savageness that you can bring out in the midst of all the other things. I mean, Rey Mysterio has done a great job of being that size, doing those things, but still being able to tell that story, convince you that his impact, his ability to do damage, come out as the underdog. He's made a career out of that, done it, you know, fantastic. And there's just a nuance and a piece in that package with Ricochet but to go along with, it's not just the ring, the talking and getting people vested in you, is looking like, well, so who's the guy that was in the match with Braun? What's that guy's name?
Ilya Dragunov.
Dragunov.
Yep.
Dragunov has got that raw, looks like he is a flipping pit bull,
right.
Attack. I mean, he attacked flipping, I mean, he was no more impressed with Braun Breaker than a man of the moon. I mean, he came after him like he was going to steal his lunch and go take his girl.
Right.
So I mean, he came out there, gave a fight, and there's a mix of all that marries up to the spectacular, looking and then going and leaping and cutting a 6.5, flip turn, on to everybody. There's a magic of all that to mix that up. So I want him to go make all the money he can make and do what he's best for his family. But I also want to see him put the rest of the elements together in there that could make him that well-rounded. Because I mean, his work compared to Will Ospreay's is they're not even the same sentence as me, to me. But if he ends up going there, which I would say 99.999%, that's probably what'll end up happening. If they don't do any better with him than they've done with some other very high flying folks that they brought in there, then you'll just get lost in the spot monkey fest of that world.
It all goes back to the storytelling in the ring.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, with Vince and with the he wants action, constant action. Well, if you have constant action and you're doing these great big huge bumps and coming flying right back up, somebody knocked your head off, how do you expect that people to get emotionally involved in that personality?
Yes.
And that's why, I say I like it. I know they have to keep the pace up for TV because the attention span of the American public, according to TV, is 8 seconds before they turn the channel. So they want that constant action. But I've noticed with the WWE, they're starting to tell more of a story in the ring and slowing their talent down a little bit. But there were still some guys that, boom, 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 boom. And even though they're great, they're not emotionally getting the people involved with them. Mm-hmm. And you can only do that either with your interview and then your match, to me. And maybe I'm way out of the atmosphere here with all this, but because things have changed. But I still think that we could go into the ring and have an old school show if you had two great personalities that knew what they were doing and slow it down a little bit, tell that story, and you could still get the people.
One group today could do that. You could have a tremendous, and Randy Orton does it every week.
Randy does it every week. There's a prime example there.
Yeah. So Randy's the master of getting all the mileage out of everything, timing, selling his back, like he's hurt himself and he looks like $1 million. and he doesn't have the things that he does look like they mean something. The punches look good. It just the guys that just go do things and then they no sell them and then they're trying to make this everybody look tough and everything. They lose the whole continuity of what they can do. I mean, Dustin Rhodes went out there with that Perry kid the other night and put on a clinic.
Yeah.
A clinic.
Yes.
And it wasn't it wasn't bing bang boom all over the place, but it was absolutely fantastic.
It totally was. Dustin knows what he's doing, and I think it helped out Perry. And
did.
Getting him. Made him. He totally made him.
Yeah.
And Perry's way better heel than he ever was a babyface.
Oh, I completely agree too. Yeah, absolutely. He's like that chicken shit. But he's a good looking kid, and he's got I think there's a lot of potential with Jack Perry moving forward.
Huge. Yeah. Him mixed with the right folks is going to be big stuff.
Before we close out here, Magnum, I just wanted clarification. So do you think Ricochet is a better worker than Will Ospreay, or do you think Ospreay?
I think Ricochet's he's the best of that style worker in the world.
Okay, great.
I'm not a fan of Ospreay.
Yeah.
I'm a fan. You're comparing apples and oranges.
Yeah, I watched.
Realistically, Ospreay talks a little bit better on the mic, but just a little bit.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, and I think to what you're saying too, like I'm kind of was unaware that like Ricochet could wrestle the style that you guys are talking about, like that you guys have exemplified. But so it's kind of neat to kind of look at it that way. And you guys gave me more confidence in what he's going to be able to do in the future, whether that's with WWE or with the AEW or with another promotion.
AEW, I hope he gets a chance to do it, but I think their philosophy there is I don't know what. I can't follow it. Really. I'm with you. I watched this match, Ospreay, and I forget the guy who wrestles supposed to be a big match. And stuff was solid, but man, it took a guy's head off, and all of a sudden they're back up. And I'm going, what the hell, guys? Take advantage of that. The people went, oh, and then boom, they're right back up, and they lose the fans. Maybe we're too old school. But I get so freaking wound up watching it. I get myself, what are you doing? God, shit.
We're those old grumpy guys. We're those old grumpy guys.
Yeah.
Them old guys on the podcast.
Yeah. I'm going to Photoshop one of the two.
I'm going to Photoshop you two as the grumpy old men, the old movie.
There you go. Grumpy old men of wrestling podcasts.
Yeah, there we go. That's my game plan.